Disclaimer. This video is for entertainment and informational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed in this video are those of the creator and do not necessarily reflect the views of any organization. The creator of this video is not responsible for any errors or omissions, or for any actions taken based on the information presented in this video. Viewer discretion is advised. In the previous episode, we discussed how the Lyrans began colonizing and conquering numerous star systems due to their highly advanced technology. However, it wasn't a matter of engaging in warfare, but rather a form of plundering, similar to what the Portuguese did during their exploration. They utilized their advanced navigation techniques to reach and occupy various countries, including Africa and South America. But in this context, there is an interesting twist. It turns out that before the arrival of the European people, particularly the Portuguese, in South America, there were legends among the indigenous tribes about ancient beings who spoke of the Europeans before their arrival. These beings were described as possibly extraterrestrial or unknown entities, often depicted in the form of angels or gods. They appeared to the tribes in South America, and the legends suggest that individuals with characteristics such as red beards and green eyes, carrying crosses, were seen as representatives of these beings. This narrative presents the idea that these individuals were perceived as a delegation sent by God or as divine messengers. The native tribes welcomed them, considering them as emissaries of the gods or angels. The tribes even offered their most precious resource, gold, to these Europeans, believing that it was a gesture of welcome. In this way, there was a transformation in the perception of these beings, from potentially negative figures to a divine delegation. It wasn't a direct act of warfare but rather a psychological war, where the image of a deity or god was utilized to make the native tribes submit. Overall, this perspective sheds light on how much can be achieved through psychological tactics. Without the need for physical combat, using religion and the imagery of a god to bring about submission and compliance. The Lyra civilization expanded from the Lyra and Vega constellations to the entire Milky Way galaxy. During the height of the Lyra star empire's prosperity and power, thousands of star systems and hundreds of thousands of different ethnic groups were under its dominion. According to human history, whenever an empire arises, it typically seeks to conquer various colonies. Managing and maintaining unity in a vast empire is indeed a significant challenge. As an empire grows larger and more dispersed, it becomes increasingly difficult to deploy armies, allocate resources, and establish other forms of governance to rule over the various territories. Ensuring compliance from thousands of colonies simultaneously is also a daunting task. The Lyrans are exceptionally tall, standing over 30 feet, approximately 9 meters, in height, and possess advanced technology and spiritual cultivation beyond that of the local inhabitants. They often have overwhelming superiority in wars, making victory against them virtually impossible for their adversaries. The Lyra star empire has existed for millions of years and has become immensely vast. The Lyrans, originally of Caucasian descent, began intermixing with the indigenous or planetary inhabitants, resulting in a wide range of skin colors among the Lyrans throughout the galaxy. Whether in terms of height, weight, purebred or mixed heritage, the Lyrans exhibit a great diversity in their physical appearances. After several centuries, it became challenging to distinguish pure Lyrans as they have intermixed to a point where distinctions are no longer discernible. The Lyrans identify themselves based on Lyra lineage, technology, civilization, and the Lyra language. During that time, the Lyrans invented the Lyra language, which is not an ordinary language but a spiritual language. The spiritual language of the Lyrans is a language that only souls can perceive and comprehend, not intended for human understanding. It exists for communication with the consciousness of the soul, and as such, this language remains unchanged and does not evolve. Moreover, any race can understand this language because it operates at the spiritual level of communication. This language can be utilized by any cosmic star system as it is fundamentally intrinsic. One needs to explore and discover this language, as it is not meant for our physical ears but for our spiritual perception. Therefore, any race can comprehend this spiritual language. During the Lyrans' colonization of the Lyra constellation, another branch of their lineage became known as the Sirians. The Sirians are also part of the same lineage and family as the Lyrans, but they chose to colonize the Sirius system. The Sirius, compared to the Lyrans, have a much smaller civilization. They share the same ancestors as the Lyrans, who migrated from another galaxy to our own galaxy and then branched out. The Lyrans colonized the Lyra constellation, while the Sirians chose to colonize the Sirius system. The spiritual development of the Sirians predates that of the Lyrans by a significant margin. In that era, they began colonizing near Sirius and started to detest warfare. They initiated genetic alterations, completely abandoning the concept of war. The Sirians rapidly advanced spiritually, reaching a state of complete peace, to the extent that they even lost their capacity for self-defense. Approximately 22 million years ago, the Sirians began developing advanced genetic modification technology and entered a stage where they could create life. Their technology was highly advanced, making progress not only in genetic modification but also in the creation of life. Being highly spiritual also had its drawbacks, as they were excessively peaceful. Many barbaric tribes began to bully them, launching large-scale invasions into Sirius territories, plundering and capturing their people. The Sirians felt anger because they were so peaceful, yet many others came to invade them. They decided to seek proxies to help them fend off the invaders, thus creating a batch of genetically modified individuals in a laboratory. Through laboratory manipulation, these genetically modified individuals transformed into 7 different races with varying skin tones, including 2 Caucasian races, 1 Asian race, 1 Native American race, 1 Hispanic race, and 1 African race. Their genes were modified to make them highly skilled in combat. Just like us, they excelled in combat but had short lifespans, being both warlike and short-lived. This is akin to what some religions say, that the original sin of humanity is our short lives, warlike nature, and susceptibility to diseases. Based on this information, the concept of original sin is completely unrelated to us. The Sirians altered 3 of our genes, which are located on the X chromosome. First, our aging process was accelerated. When we are young, our brains secrete a substance that damages our DNA. As our DNA rapidly ages, we face 3 problems. First, our DNA is prone to rapid aging. Second, we possess a gene known as the aggression gene, which can trigger attacks with just a few words exchanged. Third, we are highly susceptible to various diseases and quickly succumb to cancer or other illnesses. These problems are easily understood, and it explains why the Sirians created warriors with short lifespans and susceptibility to illness. They were concerned that these individuals might eventually turn against them. Approximately 22 million years ago, the Sirians created 7 different races, including Chinese, Japanese, and 2 Caucasian races, etc. These warriors helped the Lyrans defend their territories and protected them from the invasions of barbaric tribes. We were highly successful in assisting the Lyrans in preserving their existence for millions of years. Therefore, the concept of original sin mentioned in the Bible directly points to the genetic modifications performed by the Sirians. We are referred to as the genetically modified beings of the Sirius constellation. So, the question of causality lies with the Sirians, not with us. Thank you for watching the 2 episodes on the ancient history of Lyra and Sirius. See you next time.